September 17, 1944, 0900 hours. The jagged ridges of Peleliu Island, Palau Archipelago. Sweat drips from under steel helmets, mixing with the acrid stink of cordite and charred coral. Private First Class Eugene Sledge, sledgehammer to his squad in the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, crouches low behind a shattered palm trunk, his M1 Garand clutched tight. The air hums with the distant crack of Arasaka rifles and the thunderous reply of 30 caliber machine guns. You could almost taste the salt and sulfur, feel the ground tremble under naval bombardment that's already turned this speck of paradise into a lunar hellscape. No time for reflection. The order comes sharp from Sergeant Hank Boys. Move up, flank that pillbox. The Japanese bunker squats like a concrete predator, its narrow slits spitting death. Camouflaged in the limestone cliffs, it's part of Colonel Kunio Nakagawa's intricate network, miles of tunnels honeycombing the Umurbrogol Pocket, where 10,000 Imperial soldiers wait to bleed the Americans dry. Sledge's boots crunch over pulverized rock as he advances with his fire team, hearts pounding like war drums. Bullets zip past, kicking up dust devils. One Marine jerks back, a red bloom on his utilities, gone before he hits the ground. Inside the bunker, Corporal Hiroshi Tanaka peers through the embrasure, his Type 99 light machine gun chattering relentlessly. The Americans are ghosts in the haze, but he knows their tactics now. They've been landing since D-Day 2 days ago, waves of Amtraks churning the lagoon red. Tanaka's unit, the 14th Division, has held firm, exacting a toll that would make the Emperor proud. But whispers among the men speak of something worse than bullets, the Yankees' devil bags, explosive satchels that turn fortresses into tombs. He shakes it off, focuses on the silhouettes closing in. Sledge's team reaches the base of the ridge. Covering fire from a nearby bar suppresses the slit momentarily. "Grenades first," Boys bellows. Private Bill Layden lobs a Mark II frag, the pineapple arcing through the air. It clatters inside with a muffled thump, followed by screams in Japanese, sharp, guttural cries that echo in the confined space. Smoke billows out, but the gun resumes, weaker now. Tanaka clutches his side, shrapnel burning like fire ants, but he reloads, determined. Honor demands it. Surrender? Unthinkable. The Marines press on. You imagine the heat radiating from the concrete, the way it seeps into your bones like fever. Lieutenant Francis Burke, leading the assault platoon, signals for the Satchel Charge. It's a canvas bag packed with 20 pounds of C2 explosive, fused for a short delay. Sergeant James McAlarness volunteers, slinging it over his shoulder. Under a hail of suppressing fire, he dashes forward, muscles straining. The bunker's defenders fire wildly, but smoke grenades obscure his path. He hurls the charge through the slit, a perfect toss. Inside, Tanaka's eyes widen in horror. The bag lands with a thud among his comrades, fuse hissing like a serpent. "Bakudam," he shouts. "Bomb." Panic ripples through the dim chamber. Men scramble over ammo crates, clawing at the rear exit tunnel. But it's too late. The explosion rips through the bunker, a deafening roar that shakes the earth. Concrete cracks, bodies are flung like rag dolls. Tanaka feels the blast wave crush his chest, vision blurring as dust and debris fill the air. What kind of war is this, where men throw death itself into your lap? Outside, the Marines cheer grimly as the pillbox goes silent, smoke pouring from every crevice. But victory is fleeting. From adjacent caves, more Japanese emerge, bayonets fixed, faces twisted in banzai fury. Burke draws his .45, McAlarness grabs a fallen rifle, hand to hand now. A Japanese private lunges at Burke, bayonet piercing his leg. Pain explodes, but Burke fights back with fists, pummeling until the attacker slumps. McAlarness cracks another skull with his rifle butt. The clash is primal, steel on steel, grunts and gasps in the tropical swelter. Sledge watches from cover, reloading. The island is alive with such pockets, hundreds of them, each a potential grave. Naval guns pound the ridges, but the Japanese dig deeper, their resolve unyielding. Casualties mount, over 1,000 Marines down in the first 48 hours, heat exhaustion claiming as many as combat. Colonel Lewis Chesty Puller, commanding the 1st Marines, pushes his men relentlessly. "We're here to take this rock, no retreat." Yet as the sun climbs higher, baking the battlefield, a new wave of enemy fire erupts from an unseen cave. The Satchel Charges have cleared one nest, but the Umurbrogol is a hydra. Cut off one head, 2 more appear. Tanaka, if he survives the blast, will tell tales of American barbarity. But for the Marines, it's survival. What horrors await in the deeper tunnels? The assault grinds on, but whispers among the Japanese defenders spread like wildfire. The Yankees' explosives aren't just weapons, they're the end of all hiding places. The blast wave from McAllinis's Satchel Charge still reverberates through the limestone, sending chunks of coral raining down like shrapnel. Smoke chokes the narrow tunnel mouth, thick and black, carrying the metallic tang of burnt explosive and something far worse, charred flesh. Sledge presses his sleeve to his face, eyes watering as the fire team advances cautiously. The pillbox is cracked open now, its concrete lips peeled back in a grotesque grin. Inside, twisted metal and broken bodies lie in heaps. No movement, no moans, just silence where screams should be. You can almost smell it, the sharp ozone of C2 mixed with the coppery reek of blood and the sour rot that follows every close-quarters kill. Burke limps forward, leg bandaged hastily with a field dressing already soaking red. He peers into the gloom, .45 raised. "Clear?" he rasps. McAllinis nods, face streaked with soot. They drag out what remains. 3 Japanese soldiers, uniforms shredded, faces unrecognizable. One still clutches a Type 99, finger frozen on the trigger. Honor to the last breath. Word spreads fast through the ridges. In the labyrinthine caves of Umurbrogol, surviving defenders relay the horror in hushed, urgent Japanese. Private First Class Kenji Nakamura, huddled in a lateral tunnel 50 yards deeper, hears it from a runner. The Americans throw bags of thunder. They explode inside. No place to run. Nakamura's hands tremble on his Arasaka rifle. He's 19, conscripted from Osaka, told this was a sacred duty. Now the sacred duty feels like a trap closing. The caves were meant to be impregnable, natural fortresses reinforced with concrete, connected by narrow passages where a single man can hold off a platoon. But the satchels change everything. They don't need to breach the entrance. They force death through the very slits designed for defense. Nakagawa's orders are ironclad. Hold to the last man. No surrender. Yet fear creeps in like humidity. Soldiers whisper of the devil bags, how the blast wave tears lungs, collapses eardrums, buries men alive under tons of falling rock. One survivor from an earlier hit, half deaf and bleeding from the eyes, staggers into Nakamura's position. They don't fight fair. They throw death itself. Nakamura forces a nod, but his stomach twists. The Imperial Army trained them for bayonet charges, for glorious bonsai. Not this, being hunted in the dark like rats. Back on the surface, the Marines don't celebrate long. Another cave mouth opens fire from a flanking ridge, 20mm cannon rounds chewing the coral. "Satchel team, forward!" Boyce shouts. Another volunteer, Corporal Robert Leckie this time, sprints under covering fire, bag slung low. He hurls it into the opening, fuse already lit. The explosion is muffled at first, then a deep, earth-shaking boom. Rock shatters outward in a spray of dust and fragments. Screams echo from within, high-pitched, desperate, cut short as the tunnel partially collapses. Inside that cave, Nakamura feels the shockwave hit like a fist. Dust blinds him. The air pressure slams his chest. Men around him scream, clawing at their throats as lungs rupture. The tunnel ceiling groans, then gives way in sections. Nakamura dives for cover behind an ammo crate as boulders crash down. Darkness swallows everything. He coughs blood, tastes iron. Is this how it ends? Buried alive by American ingenuity? The thought horrifies him more than death itself, the dishonor of suffocation, of being reduced to rubble in a forgotten hole. On the ridgeline, Sledge watches the smoke rise. Another position silenced, but the cost mounts. Leiden takes a round through the shoulder during the approach. Medics drag him back under fire. Heat exhaustion claims more, men collapsing, vomiting, unable to stand in 110-degree coral hell. Puller's regiment is bleeding out, down to 30% strength in places. Yet the Japanese hold the high ground, their caves a honeycomb of death. Every cleared bunker reveals another tunnel, another ambush. As night falls, the Marines dig in on the bloody slopes. Flares pop overhead, casting eerie white light over the shattered landscape. In the caves, the survivors ration water, whisper prayers. Nakamura, trapped under fallen rock, listens to the groans of the dying around him. He thinks of home, of cherry blossoms he may never see again. The American satchels have stripped away the illusion of control. No more heroic stands, just terror in the confined dark, waiting for the next bag to come tumbling in. Dawn breaks bloody. Fresh satchel teams form up. The Marines know what's coming. More caves, more charges, more screams. But the Japanese know something worse. They're running out of places to hide. One more push into the pocket, and the nightmare becomes inescapable. The ridges echo with the crack of rifles and the thud of distant artillery. But deeper, in the black tunnels, a new dread takes root. The Yankees aren't just fighting, they're erasing every shadow.
The coral ridges of Umurbrogol rise like broken teeth under the merciless sun. September 20, 1944. Mid-morning. The air shimmers with heat waves, turning every breath into fire. Sledge's fire team, now down to 6 effectives, claws its way up a narrow draw toward what maps call Bloody Nose Ridge. The name fits. Every step forward costs blood, Marine blood mostly, but the Japanese are paying too, in ways no one anticipated. Flamethrowers roar ahead, liquid fire jetting into cave mouths like dragon breath. You can hear the whoosh, feel the sudden heat even from 40 yards back. Japanese soldiers inside shriek as napalm clings and burns, high, keening cries that cut through gunfire like knives. But the caves are deep, twisting. Flame reaches only so far. The real terror comes next. Burke, leg now swollen purple but refusing evacuation, points to a fresh slit in the rock face. There, satchel it. Mekalarnis hefts another canvas bag, 25 pounds this time, double-packed for deeper penetration. Covering fire from Thompsons and BARs rakes the entrance. He dashes low, zigzagging through coral shards that slice his boots. A Japanese Nambu light machine gun opens up from an adjacent hole. Tracers snap past his ears. He throws himself flat, rolls, then hurls the charge with everything left in his arms. It sails true, vanishing into darkness. The detonation is cataclysmic. A gout of dust and rock explodes outward, followed by a secondary blast, probably ammo cooking off. The entire hillside shudders. Boulders tumble, sealing secondary tunnels. Inside, the shockwave is apocalyptic. Nakamura, still trapped from the earlier collapse, but now freed by shifting debris, staggers into a larger chamber with a dozen others. He sees the bag land at their feet, fuse sparkling. No time to run, no tunnel wide enough. "Yamaro!" someone screams. "Stop!" But the world ends in white light and crushing pressure. The blast tears through lungs, ruptures eardrums, hurls men against concrete like dolls. Nakamura feels ribs crack, tastes blood flooding his mouth. Bodies pile against him as the ceiling buckles. Darkness returns, thicker, final. In that last moment of consciousness, horror floods him. Not just death, but the manner of it. No glorious charge, no bayonet duel under the Emperor's banner, just suffocation in a tomb of American engineering. The Satchel Charges have turned their sacred caves into coffins. How can honor survive when the enemy denies you even the chance to fight back? On the surface, the Marines wait for the dust to settle. Smoke curls lazily from the shattered opening. No counterfire, no banzai rush, just eerie quiet. Lecky creeps forward, peers in. They're done.
Bodies lie twisted in the entrance, uniforms scorched, faces frozen in shock. One Japanese sergeant clutches a grenade, pin still in. Too late to pull. The satchel didn't just kill, it paralyzed, terrified, broke the will before the body. Word races through the Japanese lines faster than any runner. In command posts buried deep, officers hear the reports. The bags come again. They explode inside. Men cannot breathe. Caves collapse. Colonel Nakagawa receives the news stoically, but his staff sees the flicker. Doubt. The Umurbrogol was designed to bleed the invaders white through attrition. Now the invaders bleed the defenders white in seconds with a single throw. Surrender remains unthinkable, but survival feels impossible. Puller pushes harder. Fresh companies rotate in, exhausted men from the 7th Marines taking over battered positions. Artillery walks barrages across the ridges, softening what satchels can't reach. But every advance uncovers more caves, more slits, more defenders who now fight with something new in their eyes, raw fear. They fire wildly, waste ammunition, expose themselves in panic. The disciplined Imperial soldiers of September 15 are cracking. Sledge reloads his Garand behind a limestone boulder, hands shaking from fatigue. He thinks of the screams echoing from the blown caves. Japanese screams, not triumphant bonsai yells, but pure animal terror. It unsettles him. These men were ready to die for their emperor. Now they're dying in ways that strip away dignity. Is this what victory looks like? A slow, explosive erasure of every hiding place? Night falls again. Flares drift overhead. In the surviving tunnels, Japanese soldiers huddle closer, rationing dwindling water and rice. Nakamura, miraculously pulled from rubble by comrades, lies with cracked ribs, whispering to a friend. They throw death in bags, no escape. His friend nods, eyes hollow. Tomorrow, more charges will come. More caves will die. The Marines prepare another push at first light. Satchel teams stand ready, bags heavier, fuses shorter. The pocket shrinks daily, but the cost is staggering. Over 2,000 Marines down so far, the 1st Marine Division a shadow of itself. Yet the Japanese horror grows deeper. Their impregnable fortress has become a death trap. As dawn bleeds red over the ridges, one final question hangs in the smoke. How long can men hold when every shadow might explode? The battle grinds towards its inevitable, brutal end, but not before the caves themselves become graves.
September 25, 1944. Dawn breaks over Bloody Nose Ridge like a wound reopening. The coral is already hot, steam rising from night dew mixed with blood. Sledge's platoon, what remains of it, forms up in the draw below the final high ground. Faces gaunt, eyes sunken from days without real sleep. Rifles caked in dust, satchel charges stacked like grim offerings. The pocket has shrunk to a few hundred yards of riddled ridges, but the Japanese inside refuse to break. Colonel Nakagawa's last order: fight to the death. No white flags, no prisoners taken willingly. Flamethrowers lead again. Armored Amtraks, LVT A4s fitted with flamethrowers, crawl forward, nozzles belching orange rivers into every visible opening. The whoosh is deafening, the heat a wall that forces Marines back even as they advance. Inside the caves, the inferno finds men who thought darkness would protect them. Flames snake through tunnels, consuming oxygen, turning stone into oven. Screams rise, raw, choking, then silence as lungs sear shut. Nakamura, ribs taped with rags, huddles in a lateral passage with 5 others. The heat arrives before the fire, air turning to liquid pain. They gasp, clawed throats. One man pulls his last grenade, fingers fumbling the pin. Better self-destruction than burning alive. But the satchels come next, always the satchels. McAlarney's, face blackened, shoulders another bag, 30 pounds now, triple fused for certainty. Burke covers him, .45 barking at shadows.
A Japanese sniper's round clips McIlharney's helmet. He staggers but keeps moving. He reaches the main entrance, a jagged maw in the ridge, and lobs the charge deep. It tumbles, fuse hissing. The Marines drop flat. The explosion is volcanic. The entire ridge convulses. Rock splits outward in sheets, burying the entrance under tons of limestone. A secondary blast follows, fuel drums or grenades cooking off. Dust billows like a mushroom, choking the draw. When it clears, the cave mouth is gone, sealed forever. No screams escape, just the low rumble of settling debris. Inside, Nakamura feels the world end again. The blast wave hits like a hammer, slamming him against the wall. Ceiling collapses in cascades, darkness absolute. He hears comrades coughing, then gurgling as dust fills lungs. His own breath comes in wet rasps, internal bleeding from cracked ribs worsened by concussion. No light, no air moving. The Satchel has done what artillery could not, turned sanctuary into tomb. In that suffocating black, terror peaks. These Americans don't just kill, they erase. No body to bury, no grave marker for families back home, just oblivion in a collapsed hole. Nakamura thinks of his mother in Osaka, wonders if she'll ever know. The horror isn't death, it's the manner, stripped of choice, of glory, reduced to buried refuse. On the ridge, Marines wait. No counterattack comes, no banzai wave. Puller, observing from a forward OP, lowers his binoculars. That's it for that pocket. Engineers move up with demolitions, sealing side tunnels. The Satchels have won the war of attrition in days what months of shelling failed to do. Japanese defenders, once disciplined and fanatical, now face the unthinkable. No place left to fight from. Caves that promised immortality become mass graves. Casualties tell the story. The 1st Marine Division is gutted, over 6,500 down by month's end, many from the Umurbrogol alone. Japanese losses near total. Of 10,000 plus, fewer than 200 survive to surrender later. The rest die in the ridges, in the caves, under the Satchels. Survivors who emerge, starved, wounded, shell-shocked, speak in broken whispers of the thunderbags that hunted them without mercy. Sledge sits on a shattered boulder, staring at the sealed ridge. Smoke still curls from cracks. He thinks of the screams he's heard, Japanese screams of pure fear, not rage. It haunts him. These were men like him, young, scared, fighting for something bigger, but the Satchels leveled the field in the cruelest way. No duel, no honor, just explosive finality in confined dark. As the sun climbs, the battle for Peleliu drags toward its close. Airfields secured, ridges taken, one blasted cave at a time. Yet the cost lingers in every Marine's eyes. Victory here feels hollow, paid in nightmares of thrown death and buried men. In the deepest unbreached tunnels, if any remain, the last Japanese holdouts wait. Water gone, ammo spent. They know what's coming. Another Satchel, another collapse, another end without witness. The island falls quiet, save for distant naval guns and the wind through dead palms. The horror has done its work.